So Jurassic World the game just got an update, and so it's prime time for me to talk about its rarities again. Okay, so I don't know why leads to these just a regular old legendary, meanwhile something much smaller than it, like the Orthocanthus, is a VIP creature. Alright, so MacLeod is legendary. Sure, I'll take that. But, unfortunately, it all falls apart when something much smaller than a MacLeod got a high rarity. Elasmosaurus is just super rare for some reason. Something much smaller than it, like the Plesiosaurus, for example, is much better here. It's a legendary. Dodicarus rarity is okay, super rare once again, the lowest out of them all. Really? Because the Glyptodon is higher rarity than the Dodicarus. Back then, a Glyptodon was supposed to be rare, by the way. Why did they change it to legendary? I'm not entirely sure. And Panoptus is also above the Dodicarus. Why is the Elasmotherium the absolute weakest of the Cenozoic, when you've got Megacerops above the Elasmotherium, as well as that the Uintatherium's health literally puts the Elasmotherium to shame. The Uintatherium's a legendary. Okay, Megaloceros being legendary is fine, I suppose. Not the worst, but Euclidoceros is like, nuh-uh, checkmate, and is plucked above the legendary. Cervalces above the Megaloceros. I think that is self-explanatory, by the way. Okay, so now we're moving on to the main game. Diplocalus is a common. Diplocalus Gen 2 is a tournament creature. Diplosaraspis is also a tournament creature. However, I remember Diplosaraspis is smaller than the Diplocalus. So, I don't know. Is it because Jurassic World, the game, is gonna have to pluck in more creatures, and so they're gonna have to make them pay to win? And so they're gonna have to make them tournament creatures. That's really the only explanation here. But anyways, Caprosuchus is the same ordeal. Now, Coolosuchus being rare is fine if it weren't for the Metoposaurus, as you can see here. Much smaller than the Coolosuchus, yet is a VIP. Actually, Sarcosuchus being a legendary creature makes sense. Dinosuchus is stronger, and so making it a tournament makes sense too. But of course, we got this one. Okay, so Coluborhynchus is a common, and so is the Tropogonassus, but the Ornithochirus is a tournament creature. By that logic, no matter how many Tropogonassus and Coluborhynchus you throw at one single Ornithochirus, the Ornithochirus will just wipe them all out in one hit. Pteranodon and a Pteranodon Gen 2, they're both really self-explanatory, and they're both below the Pterodactylus. Quetzalcoatlus is the same thing. But the thing that confuses me the most is that Hatzegopteryx is common in this game, which just doesn't make any sense. When Quetzalcoatlus is super rare, you'd expect the Hatzegopteryx to be able to compete with the Quetzalcoatlus, but I guess not. However, a Ramborghenia in the same size class is a tournament legendary, not just any regular or legendary, by the way. So, of course, Hatzegopteryx being below every single other pterosaur except for Alanka, that's really, really bad. But, do you know what's even worse? This! As you can see here, the Utahraptor is a common creature, while the Velociraptor, something much smaller than it, is a super rare. At least when it comes to the Hatzegopteryx and Quetzalcoatlus and Ramborghenia, they all have similar size class, but unfortunately, as you can see here, it just doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't help the fact that Deinonychus is also a tournament creature. Just at least make it Utahraptor Gen 2. Why is a special Baryonyx lower than the actual Baryonyx? I mean, at this point, do you really want me to say more? Oh, great. The Dilophosaurus and Dilophosaurus Gen 2, as you can see, just Ludia adding a bunch of tournament creatures to make them much stronger than their original counterparts, Down Syndrome T-Rex and Dominion Giga as well, but hey, at least they actually made a accurate Dominion Giga. Both the Irritator models are really bad and not accurate. And so, like, it doesn't really matter anymore when it comes to the grand scheme of things. Oh, one-armed Baryonyx is also below the Baryonyx. Actually, I guess the Leucistic Baryonyx and one-armed Baryonyx are below Baryonyx because both of them have disabilities that make it weaker than an average Baryonyx, I guess? I don't really remember Chaos Theory, so Spinosaurus is once again self-explanatory. The second Gen 2 model over here, this Gen 2 model is better than the original by a long shot. Okay, Tarbosaurus is a VIP compared to the T-Rex, which is a regular or legendary. And back then, T-Rex was the strongest legendary. This shows how far the T-Rex had fallen. Ankylosaurus is self-explanatory. Ankylosaurus Gen 2 is even a VIP. Okay, they actually got Gen 1 and Gen 2 being the same rarity tournament. But Ankylosaurus is below the likes of Antarctopelta, Borealopelta, just a whole bunch of stuff, honestly. Not the Euoplocephalus, by the way. Euoplocephalus is even worse. Ankylosaurus is below the Nodosaurus. Ankylosaurus is below the Scaletosaurus. Stegosaurus is self-explanatory once again. Ironically, the original Therizinosaurus Gen 1 is actually better than the Therizinosaurus Gen 2 when it comes to accuracy, but of course, you know, accuracy doesn't matter in this game. Even though Triceratops is a common and Triceratops Gen 2 is a tournament creature, they at least did the Triceratops Gen 2, well, justice, as you can see. They also actually gave the Triceratops, the original one, heroic stars, which means that a level 6 Triceratops, as you can see here, is absolutely insane, incredibly powerful. Progenosaurus and Rarity are both a similar size, yet both are completely different when it comes to rarities, like polar opposites, honestly. And of course, the Argentinosaurus being below almost every sauropod in the entire game really needs no explanation here. The Argentinosaurus being the largest animal to ever walk the earth, well, walking the earth because the blue whale swam, but of course, Ludia just did the Argentinosaurus dirty by making it worse than every other sauropod except for the Bonitasaura. But even then, it's just not... I forgot about the Parasaurolophus, by the way. This also means that the Argentinosaurus can get killed by a Compsognathus in one hit. But I think that's pretty much it for this, so thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Special thanks to channel members for supporting this channel. It helps out a ton.